Today we're going to begin the cardiovascular system. Here are our learning outcomes 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, 11.4. Read them. That gives us the objectives that we will be covering. This covers learning outcomes 11.5, 11.6, and 11.7. Let's begin. The cardiovascular system has three major parts: the heart, the blood vessels, and the blood. It's the major transportation system for the human body, and it transports substances we need from the external environment, substances we need to eliminate through waste, and substances we need to make or synthesize that need the delivery to other organs. The blood transports dissolved gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide, nutrients, hormones, and metabolic waste. It regulates pH. It restricts fluid loss at the injury site. It defends against toxins and pathogens, and it stabilizes body temperature. These are the functions of the blood. The blood is a fluid or liquid connective tissue. It's made of plasma and formed elements. Its temperature is 38 degrees Celsius. Blood is 5 times more viscous than water. Viscous means thickness or stickiness. It's caused by plasma proteins and formed elements. The pH of blood is slightly alkaline. It's in the range of 7.35 to 7.45. Blood is usually collected from the veins. When we do that, it's called a venipuncture. The most common site is the median cubical vein. A drop of blood can also be gotten from the fingertip or earlobe, for example, with a diabetic. Occasionally, blood can be collected from an arterial puncture. That's to evaluate blood gases. Plasma makes up most of the extracellular fluid. It contains plasma proteins, hormones, nutrients, gases, and water. There are three major types of plasma proteins. Albumins, that's the most abundant. Globulins, they act as transport proteins and antibodies, and fibrogen, and that functions in blood clotting and converting to fibrin. Plasma is made of 92% water, 1% other solutes, and 7% plasma proteins. The form elements are 99.9% red blood cells, less than 0.1% white blood cells, and less than 0.1% platelets. This makes up the blood in total. Here we go over the plasma proteins, the albumins, globulins, and fibrogen, and then the other solutes. They include nutrients, electrolytes as listed below, and the organic waste. That includes urea, uric acid, creatine, and bilirubin. This shows you the distribution of the formed elements. The platelets, they're cell fragments and they're important to clotting. The white blood cells, the WBCs or leukocytes, they participate in the body's defense mechanisms, and they include neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, lymphocytes, and monocytes. And the red blood cells or RBCs or erythrocytes, they're the most abundant and they transport oxygen. The red blood cells or erythrocytes or RBCs make up 99.9% of the formed elements. Men have about 5.4 million per microliter, and women have about 4.8 million per microliter. Men's hematocrit is about 46%, and women's hematocrit is about 42%. They contain a pigment molecule called hemoglobin, and that transports the oxygen and carbon dioxide. The hemoglobin structure. The main thing about the hemoglobin is it transports oxygen and carbon dioxide. Each subunit contains a heme. Oxygen binds to heme, carbon dioxide binds to the globular subunits. Anemia. Anemia is a reduction in oxygen carrying capacity. It can be caused by low hematocrit, low hemoglobin content in the red blood cells. Symptoms can include muscle fatigue and weakness, or lack of energy in general. Red blood cells have a lifespan of about 120 days or 4 months. About 1% of all the red blood cells are replaced each day. About 3 million new red blood cells enter circulation per second. If red blood cells hemolyze in the bloodstream, the hemoglobin breaks down in the blood. The kidneys filter out the hemoglobin. If a lot of red blood cells rupture at once, it causes hemoglobinuria, indicated by a reddish-brown urine. Most red blood cells are phagocytized in the liver, spleen, and bone marrow. There are 3 steps to hemoglobin recycling. First, the globular proteins are broken down to amino acids. Heme is stripped of its iron and converted to bilirubin. Bilirubin is converted to bilirubin, an orange-yellow substance. Liver absorbs the bilirubin, it becomes part of bile. If not put into bile, the tissue becomes yellow or jaundiced. Sickle cell anemia is a disease characterized by the mutation of the red blood cells, resulting in stiff, markedly curved red blood cells. The ABO blood type system. This is based on the absence or presence of antigens on the membrane of the red blood cell, and it determines blood type. There are 3 major antigens: A, B, Rh, or D. The blood types are blood type A, and that means antigen A only. Type B blood, which has antigen B only. Type AB blood, both A and B antigens. Type O blood has neither A nor B, and Rh positive notation indicates the presence of the Rh antigen. Rh negative represents the absence of it. This table shows you the distribution of the blood types in selected populations in the U.S. Antibodies are also called antiagglutinins, and they will attack foreign antigens with a different blood type. If an type A blood type receives type B blood, they will have an anti-agglutination or a clumping of red blood cells. This is called a cross reaction or a transfusion reaction. That's why it's very important to check blood types before transfusions happen for compatibility. Make sure you know this chart. It shows you type A blood, type B blood, type AB blood, type O. And blood type depends on the presence of the surface antigens or the antiagglutinogens on the red blood cell surface. The plasma contains the antibodies, the agglutinins that will react with the foreign surface antigens. This shows you an illustration of agglutination. Here's the red blood cell with the surface antigen. Here's the opposing antibodies. This shows you the agglutination or clumping, and then hemolysis. This would be a reaction when you would receive the wrong blood. Again, this shows you A positive, B positive, AB positive, and O negative blood types on this particular table. Leukocytes, or white blood cells, or WBCs. They're larger than the red blood cells, and they're involved in the immune response. They contain nucleus and other organelles. They lack hemoglobin. They have granulocytes, which are the neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils, and the agranulocytes, which are the lymphocytes and monocytes. These are all part of the immune system. The neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils and monocytes respond to any threat. The lymphocytes respond to a specific and individual pathogens. Lymphocytes are responsible for a specific immune response. Neutrophils make up 50 to 70% of the circulating white blood cells. Usually they are the first white blood cells to arrive at an injury. They're phagocytotic. They attack, digest bacteria. This table shows you the formed elements, the red blood cells, and the white blood cells and their functions. This is a continuation of the formed elements, the white blood cells, monocytes, lymphocytes, and lastly the platelets. The platelets are cell fragments. They're differentiated into what's called megakaryocytes. And what they do is they initiate the clotting response. Normal count is about 150,000 to 500,000 per microliter. A low count is called thrombocytopenia. There are three phases of hemostasis. One, it halts bleeding, and two, it prevents blood loss. The three phases are the vascular phase, the platelet phase, and the coagulation phase. In the platelet phase, the platelets attach to the sticky endothelium, and more platelets arrive and stick to each other to form a platelet plug. This may be enough to close a small break in the skin. Next is the coagulation phase. This is called blood clotting. A fiber mesh grows, trapping the cells, and more platelets form a blood clot. Hemophilia is an inherited condition resulting from inadequate production of clotting factors. A common pathway of blood clotting includes when enzymes from either extrinsic or intrinsic pathways activate factor X. This forms an enzyme called prothrombinase, which converts prothrombin into thrombin, and that converts fibrinogen into fibrin. It also stimulates a tissue factor and platelet factors, and it's a positive feedback loop which rapidly prevents blood loss. A thrombosis is a blood clot attached to the wall of a vessel. This could be very dangerous.